Hi, I'm Leon Young, the founder of Cogniss. I'd like to thank the organisers for inviting us to participate today. I'm recording this presentation from a hotel room in London, so I won't be available live to take any questions at the end of the presentation, but you will see some links and you can schedule a call with me or with any of my colleagues to talk about anything that we cover in here or anything you'd like to know generally about developing with no code. So, on with the presentation. Co-design made easy, the no-code advantage. And before I get into the presentation proper, I just want to give you a little background on me and my experience in this area. So in the dot-com boom in the 90s, I was co-founder of a company called No Code. And as the name would suggest, No Code was one of the first code-free software development platforms that empowered non-technical people to create web applications. I sold that business in 2001 in the dot-com wreck period and decided that I wanted to do something with a more social impact. And it took me a little while to work out what that was, but that ended up being an agency I co-founded called 2 and 2. And 2 and 2 developed bespoke digital applications for health, behavior change, and education. And our raison d'etre was the application of psychology in those designs to ensure that the solutions were actually effective in engaging people and driving the intended outcomes. Now, in running that agency, I came to the conclusion that the agency model is broken for developing health applications, patient-facing health applications at least. And the reason for this is that it requires a very large budget, it takes a long time. Building from scratch is difficult for the client as well as for the agency. Once you get a product out in market, even when that product is very successful, it has to be maintained, and that maintenance is very expensive, and typically after a few years you see great products get switched off. We'd win all these awards, we'd be really psyched about these great products we're putting out there, and then we'd get our hearts broken when the funding envelope ran out and these products would get switched off. So in 2016, the core team and I sat down and said, can we take what I've learned from the no-code world and start to apply this in a platform that empowers health experts to create their own digital solutions? And because we already had blue chip clientele through the 2 and 2 business, we were able to pre-sell the idea. And we went through our own 6-year co-design, working with paying customers who were getting us to build the platform that they dreamt of, really. To allow them to create the different sorts of patient-facing health applications that they wanted. And we were able to work directly with them, directly with their end users as well, through that 6-year period to get this right. And we needed 6 years to get it to the point of fulfilling our vision, which was to have something as easy as Canva to use. So you really don't need design skills, you really don't need programming skills, but that would allow you to create sophisticated health applications. And so there are many challenges in creating patient-facing health products. The first is infrastructure. The constantly moving requirements around privacy and security make it a minefield for anyone with a limited budget to bring a product to market in this space. And of course, legislative requirements are changing around the world all the time. So this is the first thing that you really need to think about, and you need to think about how you're going to deal with this long term. The second thing is that successful products require more than just health expertise combined with UX design and programming. They need behavioral expertise. You need to know how you're going to get people to engage with this digital product in a way that gets them to complete the behaviors that you want them to complete in a regular and repeatable fashion. It takes a long time to get these products to market through traditional development processes. It's very expensive. Whatever you spend, you need to budget 50% of that again per year for maintenance. And this results in those solutions that do get to market tending to be very narrow and siloed. So we hear a lot about the potential for digital health to deliver holistic precision healthcare. And that potential is really there, but at the moment it's not happening because these products are being built to solve very discrete problems and they don't interconnect with anything else. And when we look at what the products that are commercially successful, they tend to be built by tech entrepreneurs rather than being patient and health expert driven. Now let's think about this through the eyes of a researcher who wants to create a digital health intervention and run a study around it. In the traditional model, what will happen is they'll come up with a concept for that intervention. They'll think about what sort of study they want to put around that. They'll apply for a grant. When they get that grant, they will then spend typically a year building that product. But the grant will never be enough. The amount of money that will be in that budget will always be limited. And this makes co-design really, really difficult in a traditional software development environment. You can co-design on paper, but once you actually build your software, can you really go out and test it and then completely change it if you've got it wrong or if something could just be a bit better? Generally not. So you're just going to have to live with what you've designed on paper, build that, put that into your study, and hope for the best, really. And when it does work, you've now got a product where perhaps you've published a study that's shown that it's very successful. Commercialization in the university, we're talking to about what can we do to commercialize this IP. And the first difficult conversation is usually, well, we have to go back and redevelop the product. It's not at a commercial grade, and it's probably 3 years out of date. And that's generally, finding the budget to do that is generally a bridge too far, and that's when we see great products die. What should no code allow you to do? Well, in a perfect world, and what we're trying to facilitate happening is that it allows you to start building before you even get funding. You can get on a trial on a no-code platform, co-design with potential study participants, get a product that they're happy with, that is more or less what you want to take into a study, and then go and secure funding. And you can show the funding body that you've already built a product. So, the funding bodies have all been burnt by people getting funding, building an app, and the app not being what was promised. You can de-risk that process. And then you can co-design that product until you get it right and launch your study fairly confident in what the outcome's going to be. And then once your study is completed, you can keep testing and iterating that product with real-world input and take that product directly to market. It's ready to commercialize from day one. Now, I just want to touch quickly on different areas within the software development world because you have a lot of choices in 2023. You've got coding, and coding is certainly not going to disappear anytime soon. The advantage of coding is if you can imagine it, you can build it. If you've got enough money and enough time and enough resources. Low code is a really important development, and low code is very different from no code. Low code is where you have pre-built components that will make it faster to build a coded product. You still need software engineers, you still need a traditional software development lifecycle, but it de-risks it a bit for you and it makes it quicker and faster and cheaper. No code is where you build the product, or your team or an RA on your team can build the product entirely themselves without having to employ that extra expertise. But no code means a lot of things to a lot of different people. So if you Google no code, will see there's a lot of generalist platforms. Bubble, we're looking at the moment, is one of the most popular. Bubble is a great product for entrepreneurs who are wanting to start an online web business and they want to build some unique piece of software. Bubble will let you build anything pretty much, but the learning curve is steep. When they say it's no code, as you can see, yeah, you're not writing code, but you're basically doing everything a coder would do, including finding the different database products and things that you want to use, defining all your logic, just doing it in a visual sense. I've played with Bubble. I find it quite difficult to use, and I'm a software engineer. So you have to be really committed to it. it's probably not suitable for digital health in any event, because it's still going to be on you to deal with all the privacy and security issues. They're not going to do that for you. Whereas with specialist platforms, they're no-code platforms that are built for solving the problem of creating a specific type of app. In the case of Cogniss, that is a digital health intervention. And the way Cogniss works is that we have all of these different pre-built components, and you simply pick and choose between the components, you configure them, and your app comes to life as you build it. So it's a very different paradigm, and all of those extra things like the security, the privacy, all of that is productized for you in a way that works for digital health. So to drill down in that a little bit more, in the coded environment, you've got unlimited possibilities, but it's up to you to find all those different technologies and the expertise to put those things together. It means that co-design is going to be limited and it's going to be very expensive. Low code is similar to code, but a bit faster, and you get some things pre-built for you. It's been very successful in building hospital management systems, health administrative systems. I see that hybrid low-code approach still being the main source of development in that area. Patient-facing, you've still got a lot of complexity to solve. Generic no-code products we've touched on, really useful for digital startups, not terribly useful in the health space. One area that is very relevant is the vertical health no-code products. So these are products, companies that have produced products that are kind of like finished apps. They've created their own digital therapeutic. They will license it to you, and they'll give you a content management system so you can rebrand it, you can put your own content in there. That can be very useful when you're happy to live within the very specific design that they've already created. And it's certainly a fast way to get a product to market. What we've done at Cogniss is create a no-code health ecosystem where we have all of these different modules that you can pick and choose from. You create the product. Unlike the vertical products where they own the intellectual property, with Cogniss, you own the intellectual property in what you're creating, and you're not limited as to the type of patient-facing digital health product that you can create. And so what does Cogniss look like? And why does it change the co-design process? Well, what you're seeing on the left here is Cogniss Creator. This is where you build your app. And it really is as simple as picking and choosing components and then answering questions and configuring those components. And as you do that, the app comes to life over here on the phone. So you can build live, change one thing and see it instantly. Now think about that in a co-design process. It means once you've got your first version of the product built, can sit at a table with potential end users, get them to use it in front of you, and then when they don't like something, you can just try something else and publish it, and it immediately appears on their phone without them going back to the App Store or anything like that. And so you can change those things, see what works better, see what the user is happy with. Once your product's live, you can continue to test and iterate all of the time, and you're doing that within your fixed budget. I should also mention that product on the right there is a product called Cogspace that was built by our customer success manager. He did a breakdown of every single function in Headspace, the world's #1 selling digital health app for mindfulness. And he recreated that with some open source content. And the actual build of that took him 1 day. So with Cogniss, we're really creating an ecosystem. We have all of those components, including AI for triggering live events and secure and compliant data collection, all managed inside the platform. You have Cogniss Creator that you've just seen where you build your app. And then if you want to have other people iterate your app for different audiences, maybe change the content a little or change it, translate it to another language, we have Cogniss Studio where you can share an app with a colleague in another location, and they can very simply modify that app for their audience without any training or having to learn Cogniss Creator. This is like a simple content management system. We have Cogniss Insights for analysing data as it comes in live. You can also download that data to put into SPSS or whatever you prefer to use. APIs that not only allow you to pull out data into other software like record systems, but also allow you to pull in data from any wearable, any IoT device, etc. You can publish true native apps for Android and iOS, and you can publish the same app as a responsive web app without any extra development. And we also have this thing called the Cogniss Super App. And this is one app that acts as a gateway to many apps. So you can kind of think of it like a Netflix to the apps in your organization. So you can create a University of Melbourne Cogniss Super App and have people share the apps they're creating inside that single environment without having to publish them separately to the App Store unless they want to do that. And in terms of it being an ecosystem, we think of Cogniss as the heart and the ecosystem as a kind of nervous system where we can connect in any other products, where we can connect in other software. You can use things like Canva to do your graphics and bring those directly into Cogniss, where we productize the integration with requirements, legal requirements around compliance, ethics, etc. as well. And when we think about how co-design can work in this environment, I'm going to give you a real example in a minute. But basically, the process generally starts off with your idea. You research and refine that idea. You plan out your minimum lovable product, because your product in the health space has to be lovable. Otherwise, no one's going to use it. And then you build that product and have real users using it straight away so that you can test and iterate. And a recent example of a customer who's done this is a company called Lumino, and they built an app called Seren. And Seren is a cognitive behavioral therapy app for women navigating their way through menopause. They started with that app idea. They mapped out the content. They did some co-design in the content mapping and creation, and then they planned out the screens and built their product directly on Cogniss. And within 6 weeks, they had that product in the App Store, in the hands of end users, and were able to close that loop and get real feedback on their real product, which they iterate and update on a daily basis. Quick examples of how people are using Cogniss in the real world. Federal government has built various health interventions on this. With MCRI and Raising Children's Network, they built Raising Healthy Minds. This is a support product that provides just-in-time and targeted support for parents in the upbringing of their children. Another federal government product built with Black Dog Institute, 10 The Essential Network, was built during the first COVID lockdown to provide mental health support for frontline health workers, and they were able to build the first version of this app in under 2 weeks. More relevant to this audience, perhaps, this is an example of an app built by an early career researcher at the University of Newcastle, where she had been delivering acceptance and commitment therapy to students to reduce burnout, and she created a highly sophisticated digitized version of that. She's had her research published now and is looking to commercialize this. There's lots of addiction treatment and support products built on Cogniss, remote patient monitoring to give daily symptom tracking to clinicians, and real-world evidence products and clinical trial products. So thank you for taking the time to listen to my talk today. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. Hopefully, if any of you would like to meet me in the future, I would love to come and meet you next time in Melbourne and talk about what we do. In the meantime, please follow us on LinkedIn. We publish information on digital health generally every single day, and book a call if you would like to speak to me or to one of the team at Cogniss to see whether Cogniss is appropriate for what you'd like to do. Thank you very much.